tricks, but Slof's deck list looked a little bit interesting. So I'm really curious to see how his difference comes through with his particular style of anime.
Yeah, I'm excited. It looks like these guys were waiting on us to get things rolling, so they went ahead and got things started. We have Azir up top being represented from Zars, and then Slof will be our Annie player. And as you guys can see, this is the first time ever in Runes and Rift tournament history that we are actually displaying the hands on both of these players. So as you can see, we have a Flash, Poro, Overzealous Fan, Kaiser, Ride the Wind, and a call shot down below on the Annie. And then a couple cards we're not used to seeing. As RMC said, we don't get to see too many Azir. So let's try to see if we could hover over some of these. It looks like it's, weirdly enough, it doesn't let me hover. There it is, a Brutalizer, which
There we go.
I'm pretty familiar with. This one is good on the, it's like when you have a lot of weapon master units, because you're able to transition your equipment from unit to unit, which is exactly what Azir tends to do, because every single unit that gets played out, it comes in with weapon master.
Yeah, so it's really easy to kind of transfer that equipment over, and that additional +2 for Brutalizer, a 2 cost, 2 energy for +3 might is absolutely huge. Really like the start that we're seeing come through from Zars already with the Eye of the Herald. It's a 1 energy equipment, and it spawns even more recruits. We were just talking about how Azir sometimes struggles to get unit on the board. Well, with the equipment, with the Eye of the Herald to start, he's going to be able to be pumping out these units non-stop. Now, Discipline with a 1 might recruit to challenge the Traveling Merchant.
That's right. That's going to be bringing up the recruit up to 3. Should be sufficient enough to take down the merchant, unless there's a combat trick that we're seeing. A Ride the Wind coming over. Nice little cheeky play that Annies are known for, but the Defy going to be stopping that immediately.
Yeah, both players really willing to spend that early power. We're not seeing a lot of the gold generation that we're used to seeing with the likes of Draven, where we get all that gold running with some of the victors we've seen as well. So they are actually just straight up paying the runes to make this happen. But we've already seen the Azir. The green, I feel like, combination with all the kill spells that Order gives you as well, the yellow gives you as well, can be a very, very good combo. And, with that unit issue kind of out of the way for Zars, we're seeing the chance for him to do. We get to see the hand, so we know the Call of the Week is also sitting in the hand of Zars right now, which could really hurt Slof. Slof's got to play more on his turn, less combat tricks, only 1 unit available in hand with that Red Kaisa. Yes, you've got the Annie as a chosen champion and then the Poro in your base, but Call of the Week bypasses that deflect. So we'll have to see what it is Slof is going to do right now. Just scoring the 1 point for now, just trying to, it feels like that's just how he wants to play. Maybe just play aggressive, fast tempo, try and score the points as quickly as you can on your turn and outpace your opponent.
Yeah, so far so good. It looks like he does have, he went ahead and discarded the Flash, picked up a Blood Rush off the Zon Warrens, but he does have the potential to accelerate the Kaizen. It looks like he's doing that right now, paying the additional cost, pushing it forward into the Tri-Fear War Camp. And luckily with Annie, unlike Draven, you're able to untap the 2 at the end of your turn. But looking at the hand, it looks like you're only going to leave open something like a Gust to try to protect yourself from an incoming attack. That should be enough, because I believe the equipment, what's it called, the Eye of the Herald, doesn't increase any might. So both the Sand Soldier and the Recruit token on Azir's board, they're both in the range to get gusted back to hand, aka kind of destroyed, because you can't put tokens back in the hand, of course.
Yeah, and with the Sand Soldier, what's worth noting was that it was spawned by the Eye of the Herald. That's Azir Legend's ability, right? When you play an equipment, you get to pay 1 more energy to create a Sand Soldier. But if the Eye of the Herald's already on the board, well, you don't get to create another one off of that. That one just sits onto the table. So I kind of like that idea. I'm looking at Slof's hand a little bit too. You kind of named sort of the combat tricks he has available. One thing I do find very interesting is that with the Dravens, we're seeing a lot of long swords, a lot of the spinning axes as a reaction to come out and to answer things. But looking at the hand that Slof has, those runes that are ridding up the combat tricks, it feels like they're more aggressive combat tricks with the Blood Rush or with the Gust. Like they're not meant for combat. They are true tricks more than combat tricks.
Yeah, one of them that could be stopping Azir's game plan a bit will be that hard bargain. A new card coming in with set two, of course. If he's able to
Mhm.
remove this Pouty Pora from Zon Warrens with the 3 total might, the Gus is gonna come down trying to equalize things. Or actually, Pouty Pora is a 2 might if you chose the Sand Soldier, but the Defy coming out one more
Yeah.
time. That's 2 Defies in what seemed like the first opening 6-7 cards, right?
Yeah, and it's really good for Zars. For Eslov, it's really unfortunate. And that's what allows Zars to be so confident with how he's playing right now, is because he has those defies. He knows that, hey, Annie, you readied up 2 runes. Well, that's kind of all you get. And I know I can block any spell that you want to be able to play.
Oh,
Ooh, the
and we
signature
see a
spell.
great pickup RMC, the signature spell Arise from Azir. I don't know if you've seen it in action, but it's absolutely
Mhm.
powerful. But speaking of powerful, Call of the Week is going to be played out, destroying the Kaiser. Every single unit on Annie's board has been eliminated, and you can't even use the hard bargain. Things are looking pretty good for our Azir players so far.
Yeah, again, going back to Double Defy, you're talking about having that early, I think really messed up Eslov's uh, what he was trying to build up, and then of course being able to remove all those units. Now Eslov kind of hoping for that top draw. One thing Annie doesn't match up to Draven for is card draw, the ability to just keep looking for things. We were talking about the sort of Europe, what we saw with Draven burning through like, or drawing 15 cards in 5 turns or something like that. Well, Annie doesn't quite do the same. She's got the called shot, going to use that, but you are going to deramp to make that happen, and you're really digging for units. There you go, perfect timing. Traveling Merchant, going to give him an option to at least set up. Nothing to accelerate to really move in, but hey, at least you've got something you can do next turn, and you still have the ever so slight point lead.
That's right, and it looks like he decided to repeat the call shot, so he's technically down 2 Chaos Runes, so keep that in mind going forward. He's floating 2 runes, so he still has the energy, but he won't
Okay.
have the power comes end of turn. But an excellent pickup for the Annie player. The Ezreal is kind of, I would like to say, the engine of the deck, the one that really gets things churning. If he had the Ezreal out before the call shot was played, it would be a little bit more resource efficient, of course, but at least he has
Mhm.
it now going forward. Looks like he's going to be deciding to play it out. So Traveling Merchant and Ezreal are the cards getting established currently on board. Doesn't get any battlefield presence, of course, since they don't have anything like Accelerate, but perfect pickup. These next 2
Ooh.
units and these next couple turns could be quite impactful. Let's see how Azir can try to prepare going forward.
Yeah, and I think Eslov can be really happy with those units because they're big units potentially as well, with quite a lot of might to come through. Draven going to be, well, I mean, 4 might and 5 might, but 7 on the swing. Really good for the offensive play. And we talked a little bit about how Azir originally I thought would be Gear Victor, but he's not as consistent in being able to create those recruits. Victor guarantees 1 recruit every single turn.
Hmm.
Azir does need you to actually play those gears. And we talked about a Rise that was drawn last turn, the signature spell. Well, one thing we've got to remember about that too, it costs quite a bit, 6 energy. So to really make it efficient, you kind of want like 4 or 5 gears running and rolling. Right now, there's only 2 with the Eye of the Herald and the Brutalizer.
So it wouldn't really be too worth it to get it out here just yet. Instead, deciding to play out a Fiora. Excellent card when you have a unit reach up to the mighty status, aka when you cross the 5 might breakpoint, you're able to pay 1 order rune to ready that card at that very moment. So something Annie has to be careful and mindful of going forward. But full battlefield control for Azir, but double Draven pickup for Annie. Things are looking rather good, but she only has 5 runes. It's kind of biting her a little bit. The 2 chaos runes she spent in the previous turn for the call shot, she no longer has enough to play the secondary card needed for a Darius to come in ready in the very turn. So all she has to try to push these battlefields is a 3 might Azir and a 2 might Traveling Merchant. Granted, we see the blood rush. This might be a good opportunity to let that go now and pushing in with the Traveling Merchant. Let's see if that will be the target for the blood rush.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're just trying to go for, more card draw as well on the side of Veslov here, right? Just looking, digging for more and more options. I don't know if hard bargains really something you feel like you need. You could probably afford to discard that one and just look for the draw instead. But with the guards, was that just being played? Sorry, was that hidden or?
No, I think actually wait, it's a oh, you're right. I
Yeah, so it must
forgot
be
when
hidden.
they show all hidden cards, it shows us
Ah,
the
that's
hidden.
why.
So
Okay.
apologies for the confusion, RMC. Yeah, that's not a unit there. It's because the nature of how we have to reveal these hands, it reveals every single card on the battlefield. As I mentioned before we got on stream though, I'm working with the dev to try to help me out to only reveal the hand going forward. That way there's not any confusion like we're seeing that hidden card.
Okay. Well, you know what? The hard bargain we are talking about ends up being really useful there because the guards is going to be stopped. Surprisingly enough, I feel like there was enough energy to kind of pay for it, but yeah, it looks like Zars didn't really want to pay for that. So the traveling merchant is going to be able to get in there, get that kind of card draw going a little bit more. And sorry, I'm trying to figure out what exactly happened here. So that's a new hard bargain he drew, right? That's
Yeah,
a
he
second
picked
one?
up a new
Okay.
hard bargain from Zon Warrens, but I'm a little curious as well because, to your point, he had 4 energy. Even if he chose to
Yeah.
hard bargain with repeated from the Ezreal, he had 4 energy to pay for it. You can't play Arise as an action speed card, so why
Oh.
didn't he just pay for the hard? Oh, no, no, no. We're confused by the deck, RMC.
Oh.
I think he only had 3.
Oh.
Yeah,
So, sorry, folks. The new sort of hidden all thing. You know, we're still kind of working through the kinks. So yeah, the deck, the rune decks, unfortunately, are also showing their top card.
yeah.
So I guess he only had 3 energy up, unfortunately, last turn,
Mm-hmm.
along with 2 having already previously been used. So 4 Zars fall, not able to answer that one a little bit, but really good setup this turn. You can really see him spamming all that with all the gear. And you talked about the Fiora last turn. Combined with the weapon masters of the Sand Soldiers, he's going to be able to get that mighty almost every single turn he spawns a Sand Soldier. Just move the Brutalizer over, that gets up to 5, and you kind of instantly get the chance to ready it up with that Brutalizer to swing in.
Yeah, great synergy because Brutalizer on equip, you get an extra +2, making it exactly that perfect 5 might. Goes ahead and discards the Arise, even though at this point, and I see why we're giggling here because the Defy number 3 does get
Third
picked
one.
up. In this situation, might not be too impactful, thinking about the fact that you only have a blood rush and a hard bargain on Annie's hand, but you never know. A Defy could be coming in clutch because you're at the perfect 6 points. You need to push those final 2 to close this game out. Defy could be the final card you need, but I feel like Azir's looking pretty good so far because I don't feel like the defensive capabilities from Annie's are looking too great right now.
Yeah, and the fact that Zars was kind of able to get to 6 points so quickly, get a hit as well, I think is going to be working massively in his favor. So the Defy becomes pretty strong. The other reason why I was kind of giggling with the Defy a little bit was because, unfortunately for Slof, he's now at 7 might, and with the Darius, pardon me, that's usually a really good thing because you get the 5 to get Darius on, 2 costs, you know, some sort of spell, some sort of unit to ready up the Darius, get him to 7, and swing in. But with Defy, if you try and use a spell, if you try and use Blood Rush or something to ready up the Darius, you can just deny it. And then,
Mm-hmm.
surprise, surprise, your Darius is now stuck at base, exhausted, can't do a thing. It is still a little bit scary for Zars, though, because he's only got 1 card in hand. It is the Defy. So what you see on the board is kind of what you've got. And unfortunately for Azir, he doesn't have a ton of card draw available. So his options are somewhat limited. Darius being put on the War Camp exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show he didn't have too much to do that turn, but he's trying to prepare for some kind of preparation for the defense, right? He's trying to say, is there any way I could defend this board? He could have perhaps played another Pouty Pour on there to add an additional 3 might to defend. Because looking at the hand of Azir, I don't think he's able. I mean, let's do the math here. He should have enough because it's War Camp. You're getting an additional +1. So right there alone, what is that? That's 3 + 2. That's 5 total might. And Darius is right now with 10 total defending might. So you just need to throw in 2, 4. Actually, you would need to use your entire. Okay, it looks like he was
Yeah.
just going for the Ezreal for now.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so then I guess you kind of recycle. It's a good play because you get the Eye of the Herald back available again. You can reattach it to something else and swing in with whatever that is as well. Yeah, there you go. You wanted to get the Brutalizer kind of ready to go so you can get the Doran Shield in, create another Sand Soldier, and then attach the Brutalizer onto that Sand Soldier and then swing in with a lot more might with Defy in hand as well. Zars is in a fantastic position to be able to close this one out.
Yeah, and it feels pretty good when you know all you have to do. Oh, and speaking of, we haven't seen this
There we
card
go.
just yet. The Azir, the Sovereign, getting played out. It does come in with Accelerate. He had 7. Is he going to push in and just defeat the Darius right here, right now
Yeah,
for a cheeky 8 conquer? No one saw it coming, including myself, but pushing everything in to try to take this Darius out. Is he just going to be closing it out before Annie had anything to do about it?
100% with his year sovereign. So Shurima, your emperor has arrived. When he moves in, he gets to bring all his tokens with him. So that's all the sand soldiers, all the recruits. They're all just going to swing right in. That is massive overkill. And what a statement way to win from Zars. Because let's be honest, plus, did he need his Azir to do it? No,
Not this
but he
turn.
really wanted to secure it.
Yeah, that's just one way to do it. Absolutely fantastic stuff coming out from our Azir player, taking down Annie in game number 1. But of course, this is a best of 3 series. Now I believe Annie has a little bit of expectations. What is he working with going forward in this next couple games? Or maybe just one game if Azir is able to do it one more time.
I would love to see Annie actually be able to, if Slof has it, definitely slam it in. I think more consistently what we usually see is Gust being sideboarded in, sometimes Scrap Heap being taken out. A lot of times you see Scrap Heap in on game 1 with Zon Warrens, and then go into game 2 when you're moving away from Zon Warrens, we see Scrap Heap kind of taken out and other things sideboarded in, things like Gust, like Fight or Flight, like Rebuke. I think it's the 3 that usually is sideboarded for Annie's. So I'd expect to see the Gust come back in. The Rebuke potentially as well, though that one feels kind of bad to have to use on recruits. But if you got to do it, you've got to do it. And it felt like Slob's deck was relying very heavily on these sort of denials to kind of push things back in terms of combat tricks.
Yeah, you know, the only good thing about Rebuke, of course, is that it's undefiable. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. But looks like Annie will be starting nice and easy with a Traveling Merchant to start things off. But the Arena's greatest trigger, of course, both players saying, you know, it's a weekly. I'll give it to you, even though you missed your trigger. But 1-1 to start things off. And a call of the week, you love to see it as the Azir player when you have no units to trade for your opponent's unit. Fantastic turn 1 play, kind of leveling out the tempo from starting in the draw on your turn.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm actually a little bit surprised that decided to be the turn 1 play. But then again, as you said, it's great because you don't have to sacrifice any unit of your own necessarily. There was also the option to kind of start with Brutalizer and then create a Sand Soldier.
Oh,
But Ezreal already, you were talking about this plus last game about how good Ezreal can be if you can get it out early.
yeah, but my little reaction was to the triple Rebuke hand. That is not what you want to see early on as an Annie player. And another spell. There's not too many units. Luckily, he does have an Ezreal. That's a little bit of a saving grace. He's able to pitch one of these Rebukes because I don't think he's going to have enough runes to use all the Rebukes down the line. So I would imagine he's going to pitch one of those and draw 2 extra cards because he's in desperate need of a couple units if he wants to keep this momentum going.
Yeah, he might just choose to discard those rebukes and just go digging for some other options. No, he's actually keeping the triple rebuke plus. So,
Wow.
you know what? We talked about the combat tricks that you kind of need to have. And I guess rebuke, yes, it takes two runes. You've got to recycle 2 runes, but you also draw 2 runes every turn. So if you can kind of just use that, kick units back over and over, it might just come down to a contest of, well, how much gear do you have? And or how many units can you create? Because we know now with being able to see sort of the hands, that Zars doesn't have units. So
Right.
he is relying very heavily on his gears to generate some sort of units to move up.
Yeah, luckily Azir does have, if he plays an equipment, like his legend ability says, he's able to at least get a 2-might Sand Soldier on the board. We also see the Guard coming into play, or might come into play. You're playing one as a spell, and you may ready it for an additional cost of an Order Rune. So let's see, he's tapping 3, most likely going to get the BF Sword, but instead goes for the Guard as we mentioned. So he's going to play another Sand Soldier, but I think that's about all he can do this turn.
Still has 3 energy up. Yeah, probably just keeping it up for the potential combat tricks. He wants to defy. He wants to disciplines ready to go because he does want to kick that Ezreal off.
And let's see what comes down. It might just very well be okay, it is gonna it's
Yeah.
an expensive rebuke because it's still such early game. You don't want to go down that far down on rune economy, but he says it's worth it. The rebuke gonna be basically killing it. As we mentioned in game one, you can't send back tokens back to the hand, so just kind of eliminated there, keeping the Ezreal alive and scoring a hold point more than likely, because I don't think this weapon master, or that this actually, you could still BF sword and then pay an order rune to attach it. And he's actually not able to rebuke in this situation. The best he would be able to do would be a ride the wind, but then you're going down to a simple rune. I don't know, it seems expensive, but it might be worth it, because if you ride the wind your Ezreal to Arena's Greatest, you go up to 3. On your turn, you hold to 4. But then that's the tricky part, because you're only going to have 3 runes available. So, okay, it looks like he decides to play it safe. Doesn't want to completely tap out in case he needs to defy on Annie's turn.
Yeah, and for the ride, the win that you're talking about for Slof, the problem is if you kind of go too far down in terms of runes, sure, you've got 4 points, and then what? Like, yes, Annie runs very low on runes. Generally, I think one of her most expensive costs is probably just Darius at 5. Or Kaisa accelerated at 5, but nevertheless, like you want to be able to play more than one card on that turn. So you like to get up to that 6-7 mark, usually be able to do stuff. Now, discipline being used there to try and answer the Ezreal, and also look for that card draw. But that's the problem about using combat tricks, right? As the Annie, you're willing to kind of burn a lot of that energy. You know you're going to get 2 back at the end of your turn anyways.
That's right. He tried to Blood Rush, bring the Ezreal above the Sand Soldier's total might, but got defied. So excellent use of his runes. As we mentioned before, didn't want to completely tap out to leave these kind of plays available, but ride the wind, bringing in the other Ezreal for a total 6 attacking might. That should be more than enough to take down the 4 total might on the opposing side. So one Ezreal goes down, but you're still going to be able to go to your 4th point. And if we're looking at things on the Ezreal side, there's no more units, so he's not going to be able to push things. Oh, but a card that could kind of push things on the play will be that Fiora, of course. So it looks like he might be a teeny bit short on runes this turn, but going forward, he's going to be able to push his Weapon Master soldiers as soon as they come out the very same turn.
Okay, now with the Fiora as well, there you go. You can use the Brutalizer to kind of ready up, pay that extra rune, swing in, take out the Ezreal, and then it goes back to Slof and sort of what combat tricks you're willing to pay. And we're just talking about this. Do you D-ramp plus? No, you don't. Slof is not going to try and rebuke. He's just going to let the Ezreal go.
That's right. And did he actually have a second Chaos Rune? I didn't check, but he probably didn't even have enough for the rebuke. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of costly. Yeah, it's really tough for Slof now because, yeah, you've got... Okay, so it looks like I'm assuming Bryn here got sideboarded in. So that's a interesting card, especially given the way the game's been played. There has been combat tricks coming through from Zars a little bit. But yeah, you're now going digging with that cult shot. And once again, like you said last game, no Ezreal to make that cost a much more efficient card.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like he's able to pick one up here, but not able to repeat it because he only has 1 Chaos Rune remaining. Maybe in this heavy purple, you know, RMC, I've seen these type of Annie decks, and I've seen the Ezreal Call Shot package run completely Chaos Rune. Mono purple Annie is what I've been seeing in the past. Not too popular, but look at the amount of Chaos Runes this deck is actually using, right? Ezreal costs a Chaos Rune, Rebuke costs 2, Call Shot could cost up to 2 more. If you have other cards like Fizz to bring those call shots back, that's another Chaos Rune. So I don't blame people for going heavy on the Chaos side, because as we're seeing here, that is a big problem that Annie's running into at the very moment.
Yeah, it looks like Slof is running either 5-7 or 6-6 in terms of runes, 5 Fury or 6 Fury, because we know there's the next card he's going to draw, or the next rune he's going to channel is again Fury, which is surprising because I'm also looking at what we've seen so far. The only Fury cost we've seen is Darius and Kaisa accelerated. So I'm with you 100%. I'd love to see more Chaos runes, and it's definitely coming back to bite him when he can't play the cards he needs to play to actually use. And whereas Zars, he's got options. He's got now 2 recruits on the field. He's got the BF sword in hand, which is equivalent to another unit. And he's also got this Fiora now swinging in. Yeah, he's just got kind of all the options, and he's going to be ever so slightly ahead in points after this as well. Though being on 5 and being on 4 is kind of similar. You're still trying to get to that within 2 points of winning for these two decks, kind of standard win conditions. So, yeah, it's that point advantage is not that huge for Zars.
Yeah, not too much of a difference in that point department, as you mentioned, but in the board development department, there is quite a disparity. So many Sand Soldiers, so many equipment, and a little bit more on top of that with that BF Sword and Discipline in the hand for the Azir. He is feeling comfortable. There's only a Pouty Pour. We're going to be getting the 5th point, but if we're looking at the hand, Darius is not even able to come down and push that Fiora away this very turn, so instead going to be trying to play defensively, prepping it up and keeping it on with the Poro. But man, RMC, this doesn't feel good. You have 3 runes open, but it's essentially just a bluff because you don't have anything available in hand. You just have your rebukes that are pretty much worthless without any chaos runes available.
And now the shoe's on the other foot. Plus, we were talking about the fact that Zars at 5 and 4 was kind of the same. Well, 6 is different. 6 is a magic number, and it's now Slof at 5, which kind of sets you effectively kind of 1 turn behind. You can only get up to 7 on your next turn. So if Zars wants to, he can just keep building his board. He doesn't necessarily have to swing in. Unfortunately, I think he doesn't have that many things he can play, so he is just going to look to trade that. For now, the Sand Soldier, the tokens are not as important as just having the ability to clear things and have that gear ready. I'd expect him to use the BF Sword as well, get the Recruit potentially kind of ready to swing in, and then next turn maybe then use the Arise, which would also ready up 2 of the Sand Soldiers it has to just be able to close this one out nice and easy.
And it looks like he's deciding to play it out right here, right now. The
Wow.
Sand Soldier army coming to play. A BF Sword, 2 Brutalizers. Gonna be giving Azir 3 total Sand Soldiers, each with Weapon Master, but only decides to put 1 BF Sword on one of them. The other 2 readied, but since he's at 7 points, doesn't really want to overplay his hand, doesn't really want to extend over onto the other battlefield. And man, this is looking as good as done. Azir might just be taking the very first round of today's weekly tournament, but because of Bryn here, Thundersong, and that Ezreal, both of those units aren't able to reach into the battlefield the very turn they're played.
Oh, wow. The Gust. Let's be honest here. The Gust was not going to change anything. There's no more sort of card draw or digging that Slof can really come through. But even the Gust is denied. Discipline being used for the +2 to kind of get that Sand Soldier out of danger range. The +1 is just salt in the wound. And just like that, plus I guess it's kind of over for Slof here. Really tough sort of situations. The early triple rebuke and the fact that he kind of burnt through all of his chaos runes early and had a turn where he just couldn't do anything due to lack of chaos.
Yeah, things just going from a little bit bad to worse for our Annie player, but I think he sees the picture here. There's really nothing he can do. As you mentioned, I think a big lesson to be learned for the Annie player course, as you said, put a little bit more chaos runes, because if he had these rebukes in hand, then there's still a game. There was an essential point maybe 1 or 2 turns ago. If you're able to get that rebuke, your Ezreal would have survived. That would have given you more value on your call shot you played the next turn. So things could have been slightly different if you're able to dig a little deeper into the deck, find some more resources to play out here. But a little bit too late. I think they're discussing or just thinking about it, saying, what can I possibly do? Let's try to find some kind of answers, and finally letting go of the rebuke. I think he should have let go of one of those rebukes a very long time ago.
Yeah. I'm with you. Plus, they just kind of sat there, and again, part of it, again, we've got perfect vision. We knew that he wasn't going to be drawing those chaos runes anytime soon. He was probably hoping he'd be able to use those rebukes, but yeah, you can see he's only got the 1 chaos rune at this point, and now he doesn't have enough to kind of get the Annie up and actually move anything around. So even if you rebuke that Sand Soldier away, like, you're just gonna lose to the Conquerors on the next turn. But respect what Slof is doing. He's actually did manage to go digging a little bit. Has found some units, but nothing he can accelerate, and now he can't get the ride to win either to move Ezreal up.
Yeah, the ride that when he ended up pitching very early on could have done a little something, but in this situation, looking at how much board presence Azir has at this very moment, it
Mhm.
wouldn't have changed very much. So I think that's a GG. These players are discussing, saying, or I don't know if he's truly given up here. I'm trying to look at the player cam. It looks like he's still locked in focus, trying to find it out. We have full information and we know the out is just not there. But even if you don't have any hand knowledge, just looking at the board, there's
Yeah.
not a 3 might unit. I mean, a Ride the Wind would trade you with the Brutalizer going up to 3 might. So yeah, there's essentially nothing. I think it's the Slof saying perhaps just doesn't want to, have it sink in this very moment. Wants to have a little bit more screen time on the featured match.
Hey, fair enough, right? Like getting up here is always good. It's always nice to kind of have your name out there. And for Eslov, I don't think he lost because of he misplayed terribly again. Yes, there were some choices he could have made differently, but in the moment, I understand where he's coming from and maybe some of the ideas he was looking for.
Hmm.
I think he was just really unfortunate with how things ended up playing out. Again, triple rebuke has its place, but not in your first two turns.
Yeah, no, that was just honestly a very, very unfortunate set of draws early on. You never want to be in that position. Honestly, I think sideboarding an additional rebuke, if he's mainboarding one and he sided in two, that could have been a little bit of a mistake because these tokens are in the range of Gus and rebuke, especially considering the fact that you weren't too chaos focused. They're just a little too heavy to bring in all three, because usually rebukes are for really tall units, like perfect for the Draven matchups, perfect for the Master Yi matchups, but not so perfect for the go wide strategies like Azir. So I think these guys are all said and done. Slof checked off his camera, so let's head back to the caster booth. And GG Zars getting it done. Our very first Azir coming in with some impactful action. Well done. Hopefully we see a little bit more of him going forward.
And consistently, the Fiora showing up both games as well, I think really helped accelerate the pace of the game, and it felt like his Azir deck definitely came online a bit quicker there.
And Armsy, good news for everyone and us here
Okay.
today. We found an extra feature match. Looks like it's gonna be Kai'Sa versus Fiora, a matchup we don't see too often. But are you a fan of this more mech focused or mech oriented Kai'Sa we've been seeing a whole lot in set 2?
I think it's an adaptation, and it's a necessity, whether or not Kai'Sa players like it. I personally like it. I did not like Kai'Sa in set 1. I found her very annoying, so pretty
Yeah.
happy to kind of see a different look to her. But with sort of the equipments coming out and the might thresholds kind of going up, a lot of what Kai'Sa was doing previously, where she had a lot of cheap spells, which could just nuke down units, is not working quite as effectively. But into Fiora is interesting, because I actually have not seen any Fiora, so I don't know what she
Really?
does or how she works. Yeah.
I think she's pretty good. I think Sabotage, as we're seeing right here, is a perfect card to try to take the most essential cards from Kai'Sa's hand. I'm looking at the current hand. Production Surge is actually a little innocuous. You wouldn't think it's quite impactful, but if you let it get played out, especially considering the fact that you have the Vision mech already there. I call him the Vision mech because he gives the any mech unit that comes down Vision. You're able to kind of filter through your deck a little bit more, and on top of it, you draw one, so that's actually a pretty good card. But instead decides to discard, or it doesn't discard, you actually recycle with Sabotage. But I think there was a Void Seeker. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, it looks like the Voice Seeker was kind of taken out there. And I think that you're removing it partially because of the card draw as well, and as well as the damage that can come through. But there you go. There's the production surge you're talking about with the Vision Mechs. You get to see kind of more and set things up. Looking like it's a pretty good start for the Kai'Sa. A lot of board presence already being built up, but both players kind of taking a bit of time. I'm assuming that Kai'Sa got to go first just based on how the board has developed.
Yeah, I would say so, especially considering the fact she has a little bit more runes as well. The plungeringly, the portal coming in, getting that extra gold for the Conqueror. But another card I want to bring to everyone's attention on Fiora's side that tends to be decently good in this Kai'Sa matchup is going to be Ruin Runner. There's been a lot of talk. Some people love it. Some people feel like it's a little bit too slow, but I'm on more on the side that it's actually a pretty good card for a 6 energy, 5 might unit. it's a card that you can't get targeted from any spells. And like we know, even from set 1 going into set 2, Kai'Sa has a good amount of spells that easily are able to take out a Ruin Runner. But in this situation, you're just not able to pick it as a chosen target. So if you're able to keep things going with that Ruin Runner, kind of buff things up when you need, especially considering the fact that you have something like a Punch First. Fiora also runs things like equipment, so you could put equipment on that Ruin Runner and then make your push, and it's almost like a guaranteed attack because you know no other little combat tricks like a Stupefy, Hextech Ray, Void Seeker, those cards of that nature aren't going to be able to stop that Ruin Runner at all. So I'm actually a big fan of Ruin Runner. What about you, RMC?
Yeah, I agree, especially into Kai'Sa. It reminds me a lot of sort of the Unyielding Spirit, where most of Kai'Sa's spells are targeted. She doesn't usually run unchecked power unless she has a good reason to. Heck, I don't even see it in sideboard sometimes. She doesn't have a lot of indiscriminate damage, if you will, or like Imperial Decree that we saw in Order a lot. So it can be very, very good to kind of get out there. You do have to be careful of things like Thousand Tailed or Darius, though, which Kai'Sas are still running even here in set 2. So far, we haven't seen it, but yeah, it is still absolutely a risk that has to be played. For now, though, I feel like Fiora, she wants to play around buffing units up, or not buffing units, but increasing their might. Doesn't have to necessarily be a buff. And yes, you've got the Call to Glory. Yes, you've got the Punch First available, but I don't know if that's necessarily the right time right now for Fiora to be using those to kind of get up there. You want to be saving them as combat tricks. And her board setup is there. She's got to swing in, but I'm a little bit worried that she might not have the protection, given that she's got another Fiora, she's got another, as you're talking about, the Ruin Runner that wants to run. But if you play those, you might not have enough energy up to keep things safe.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm thinking from this position, I'm liking the Call to Glory. Unfortunately, Fiora doesn't have any buff units to try to play it out for free. So you're going to have to play it out for a 3 energy cost in this position. But if you're able to push that down, which I think he's paying 3 either for the Fiora or for the Call to Glory, I'm looking at that Lucian to be my target because right there, you're out of Hextech Ray's range. Granted, there's also the Piercing Light. Actually, no. That's not an action speed spell. I always forget. It's just similar to Falling Stars, so you could only play it on your turn. So the only action speeds here are going to be Stupefy and Hextech Ray, but instead decides to establish the Fiora, pushing in with the other Order champion Fiora, but only pushing in for 5 currently, so you're still out of the range. But this is a little tricky, but I like this from Fiora because you still have 3 runes remaining, and that Call to Glory is going to be reaction speed. So if Kai'Sa wants to go ahead and Stupefy into Hextech Ray, thinking that 3 might is going to be getting taken down, Fiora does have something up her sleeve. So let's see if that ends up playing out, because I'm thinking that might be the series of events we might just be seeing here.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking if do you just want to, well, I guess you're just kind of holding it. There you go. Hextech Ray comes across, and if you want to buff it, now's the time you want to buff it kind of just straight away to kind of actually cut off the Stupefy, because if you, well, the thing is, I guess passing prio and the way it works is you do get to finish playing all your things before the other side gets to react. So no deflect cost, but it should still stay alive as you're kind of calling for there.
You know, you did say a good thing there. No deflect cost. If they played the Call to Glory beforehand, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because yes, you would have got deflect cost, but because you're coming in with already 8 or 7 might, they're just not going to play the Hextech Ray. So I think that was just the perfect way of playing things out, saving it as the reaction speed spell that ended up coming perfectly clutch there. The only thing, though, you're going up to 7. You just got done 3 damage. You go down to 1 from the Stupefy, so you're at 6, 3. No, okay, so I think you're going to be surviving by 1.
Survive. Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty clutch.
Super
but
close.
You are able to just barely kind of get over that. Now, the problem is you're out of runes, so Punch First will not be able to protect, and there is that mech as well. It's a forecaster. All of the Light Slinger that you're kind of talking about, or Piercing Light, pardon me, that you're talking about, but the gank across as well. Oh, from the Fiora.
Oh, what a brilliant sequence of things. I like that, because it did become mighty, in that very combat, so you're able to pay
Yeah.
your order even though it's tapped out. You can still recycle it to ready, and
Yeah.
as you said, it does have ganking, getting pushed into the monastery. That is a fantastic play for Fiora. I'm liking that so far, but you still don't have too much protection, but that was a nice little play there.
Yeah, and the other thing is it gets you up to sort of 4, which is we think in intervals of 2, which puts you ahead ever so slightly of the Kaisa, like that one turn ahead when you're already trailing originally by that 1 point. So huge swing from that Fiora, effectively a free cross between the Legend and the Champion abilities, where the Legend gives you the 1 rune for being mighty, and then the Champion uses that 1 rune to kind of ready up and go. So here we go. There's the piercing light coming through from the Kaisa. You got to try and weaken that Fiora, potentially. Yeah, take them out if necessary. So yeah, you're just dealing 2 damage, and I assume the mech's just gonna swing in to just clean that up shortly.
He actually did decide to repeat it, so paying 4 runes to
Oh,
repeat
okay.
that, so 2 and 2. So going to do 2 damage on each of those units. So taking them out with the 4 damage on each, it looks like one of those going to be Singularity. So the next draw looking kind of nice, but there's not too many units considering the fact that Fiora is just a 3-might unit. But so far, Kai'Sa bringing that momentum back in her court, going up to 5 points herself. But looking at the hand, 1 card in hand, and that just being a gem jammer doesn't feel too good, especially considering the fact that he left the Singularity on the top of his deck, I'm pretty sure. So you're not going to be picking up a unit. You at the very least have your Kai'Sa Chosen Champion still available, but these
Yep.
are not. I think this might just be the perfect opportunity to kind of set up the Ruin Runner going forward. You have 8 might, so you still have a little bit to play with that punch first, and you're not getting punished too hard. The only thing is, how do you push these units away to not let your opponent hold too many points there? Because I guess you could get rid of one, but you might have to let the other one go unless you want to punch first offensively, which seems a little bit expensive.
Yeah, I mean, if you did that, you could potentially play like a Fiora or Pookie there, and then punch first to ready it if you're willing to pay the extra rune cost. That does feel, as you said, kind of expensive though. No, they're just gonna swing in for now, look to take out the mech, and you're kind of betting a little bit that Kai'Sa doesn't have another Hextech Ray in hand that she can mount, but it pays off. There's the card draw coming in from spending that buff, and now you've got double punch first, but plus no safety here. You're just straight up going for that road runner that you're talking about. A ruin runner, pardon me, that you're talking about. You want to get it on. You know that's the big sort of Kai'Sa answer. And more importantly, you want it ready to move on your turn.
Yeah, so let's see how things play out. As we mentioned, he is going to be able to pick up the Singularity, but that Ruin Runner untargetable. So your only available targets will be the Fiora and the Pookie in the back line. So not feeling too good about that because those aren't the most ideal targets. Of course, though, you do you do not let Fiora get a point on the hold, of course. So that's something to be considered of. But you are able to push forward if you do that. So I think the Singularity is about as good as you can get. Take down the Fiora, push in, go up to 7. But thinking about closing things out, how are you getting rid of a Ruin Runner and a punch first? Double punch first to make that, right? Oh, that's going to be a tricky turn for Kai'Sa to close things out.
And you're probably looking for your Thousand Tail. You're looking for your Darius. You're not assuming they've got punch first, though you probably should at this point since most body decks are running 3 of them. The odds of it being there are fairly high. Or potentially you're just looking to go card draw for a Time Warp and sneak a unit up, get 7, and then kind of run with that. For now, though, those are all hypotheticals. Plus, we're just seeing the Singularity, clear things first. Yes, the Rune Runner is going to be there, but there's nothing you can do about it. We're just going to play... instead, the Gem Jammer, get the ganking across, gank so that only that Forecaster has to die, and at least you have units open and available. And then right now you're just praying that the Fiora can't really accelerate and sneak too many things on, because you're out of cards, you're out of options, and you're top decking as a Kai'Sa.
That's right, and I believe he decided to leave the Stupefy on the top of his deck, which is a little bit curious because the Ruin Runner, you're not able to target it, but I guess he's just saying, you know what, I'll use it on one of my own units just for the simple draw 1, but it ends up kind of being pretty similar because you could draw 1 when you pick up the Stupefy, or you just recycle it and draw the one you would draw anyways. but a little bit of a workaround. But Ruined Runner with a challenge and 2-punch first, I think if there's a window of opportunity for this Fiora to get things back and rolling in her favor, is going to be right here, right now. You're able to push Ruined Runner forward. You know it's completely free because Kai'Sa has no hand economy, completely done in that department. So that's going to be a free conquer. You could challenge to kill one of the back lines, and you still have enough runes to pretty much play out your entire hand on top of that. I think Fiora might just be looking good to close out this game 2 or game 3, perhaps.
Yeah, 100%. And plus, I guess you want the Stupefy because you're maybe looking for Darius to be drawn on the team. And then you can accelerate him kind of, or ready him as soon as he's played, moves in. But I think it's kind of done and dusted. In fact, right now, Fiora could just play the Fiora, get it mighty by using Punch first offensively, like you were talking about. Yes, it's a big investment, but you swing in, you go up to 7, and you've got another Punch first in your hand. You've got a challenge as well, if need be, to finish off any would-be challengers to look to take it. And you just need to hold one of those 2 battlefields.
Yeah, let's see. I think this is still looking good. You know, you're only going to be able to see 2 cards. One of those being, of course, the Stupefy. And then let's see what comes off the top, because you're going to be minusing one of your 2 might units in the back line. So you're going to effectively have 3 total might to push in. If you have the Darius, that's going to be going up to 7 with the 3. But you're trying to close it out this very turn, so you're pretty much only going to be able to push in with 9 total might, but instead going to be playing out the Kai'Sa.
Okay.
I
kind of like it. You still got 5 for the Darius, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So you swing the Kai'Sa in. You look for the draw. You draw 2 because you're at 7. Does he hit the Darius?
Let's see. That would be a really good play, because I think with the Darius, she would feel good, but we know what's in the hand arm. See, there's a double punch first, the challenge coming out before the draw, neglecting her double draw. This is really impactful here, but keep in mind, he's going to have the 4 damage for the next combat step, because there's no going to be a combat. Let's actually see. So Stupefy, so no longer Darius is available for the next turn. There's only 4 runes. This is looking a little tricky for Kai'Sa.
Yeah, this I don't know what the out is. Oh, and it's the Darius plus. Oh
no. Oh no. I can't believe you called it just like that. You knew the Darius was right around the corner with that Stupefy. That would have been the perfect play. But considering the fact that we know it's a double punch first, I still don't think it would have been enough.
Nope.
And now the question stands. I think Fiora just wins, right? Ruined Runner holds up to 7. Fiora with a double punch first, going up to 13 total might. There's nothing Kai'Sa can do to stop it. I think Fiora might have just snuck this one out, because I thought Kai'Sa had firm control throughout this match.
Yeah, and it really felt like it swung on that, was it turn 3? The second turn, as soon as we kind of hopped in there, and what we're able to see, and then the way it just kind of swung back from that situation. And Fiora, she's got so many different options she can kind of do with this. You can move the Ruin Runner back. Well, I guess you can't punch first to kind of ready it up, but you're going to be swinging in with whatever. So you can drop that the Unsung Hero in, just punch first to make it mighty. Swing both in and punch first again if necessary. And there's really nothing you can do with that 4 energy. Even if you've got Void Seekers, it won't be enough.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to pay to ready it. So playing it safe, playing a little bit more cautiously, trying to diversify a bit, if you will. Punch first on each unit. So going first with the Unsung Hero, pushing in with a total of 7 might. But forget about diversifying. I'm going all in. Punch first number 2, bringing that up to, I believe, 13 total might. And that's going to be a GG. The Ruined Runner coming in clutch. Even though there weren't too many spells in the moment for Kai'Sa, but still, it's just the impact that it can have. I mean, that card in hand, the Cathian Rain could have done a little something, but not against a Ruin Runner, of course.
Yeah. Not at all. It's that Darius, and you can see them highlighting the Darius right now. They knew it, and plus that one's gonna sting. Unfortunately, regardless what happened, the Darius was never gonna be able to swing hard enough. Even if you're at 7, punch first, punch hard enough, and it will be the last punch.